Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Whidbey Island. My name is Kate Nunn, and I will be your worship leader this morning. My welcome extends to members and friends and visitors and anyone who's shown up on Zoom. And I'm grateful for those who have given their time and talent to help make this service happen. Joy Choker, who brings such ease and energy to her playing, as well as helping us to raise our voices in song. And Opus Bialik in the sanctuary and Tom Pocock on Zoom. They lend their technical skills and calm response to those digital challenges, which seem to appear right before the service or perhaps during it. And my thanks to Joanna Rooms, the usher extraordinaire, and to Remel Nunn for providing the coffee this morning and the refreshments. And I hope that will invite you to stay and mingle after the service. And this morning, I'm very pleased to welcome Reverend Florence Caplow to the pulpit. Zenson Florin Caplow is a Zen priest, Dharma teacher, essayist, change coach, and the co-editor with Susan Moon of The Hidden Lamp, Stories from 25 Centuries of Awakened Women. She is also a UU minister who currently lives and works in Port Angeles. Her website, cloudway.live, details the related strands of her life's work. And I quote, "In Unitarian Universalism, you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, your expansive heart. We are diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, and spirituality, but aligned in our desire to make a difference for the good." We light our chalice this morning with these words by Robin Wall Kimmerer. "A gift comes to you through no action of your own. You cannot earn it or call it to you or even deserve it, and yet it appears. Your only role is to be open-eyed and present. Gifts exist in a realm of humility and mystery." Please stand for our affirmation and remain standing for hymn number 128, "For All That Is Our Life." We will sing verses 1, 2, and 4. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our practice. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another.
Our It's wonderful when you get to see the sausage made. I am so glad to be with you here again this morning in your beautiful, beautiful sanctuary. Makes me so happy to be here. The last time I spoke in person here was 2019, the year before the pandemic, in the summer. Now I'm back living on the Olympic Peninsula. I was living in the Midwest for the last 8 years in Port Angeles, held by the Salish Sea in front of me and the great Olympic Mountains at my back. It is truly the home of my heart, and it is so good to be back. I especially want to thank Tara for her invitation to me to speak, and for hosting me and my friend Jean, who coincidentally was here 6 years ago, and in the guest house in her beautiful garden. And we'll have a very special offering at the end of the service, which is also from Tara's garden. And Kate for her support in this service. I was thinking when she did all those gorgeous thank yous, who is the person who really holds the service together? The worship associate. So thank you, Kate. Because we will be exploring the words and ideas of a Native American woman today, it feels important to me to begin by naming and honoring the Snohomish people of this land. Many of those for whom this island was home, who lived here for millennia, were forced to move to the Tulalip Reservation in Marysville, where many of their descendants still live. My understanding is they're the largest portion of the people from on Tulalip. However, as I think you know, because I read about this, their descendants of those who did not leave are still here. So let's just take a moment to, just a moment of silence to express our awareness and acknowledgement of the Snohomish people of this land. And I want to thank you in this congregation for your land acknowledgement outside your door and your ongoing commitments to learning and relationship with the native peoples of the Salish Sea. Some of you might know that back in 2016, I went to Standing Rock with your former minister, Dennis Reynolds. And that was an extraordinary journey that we took in the middle of that great struggle of the water protectors to protect the Missouri River. So the seeds of this service were planted a few years ago, actually, when I first read the beautiful essay on wild strawberries by the Native American essayist and botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer. And her voice will be braided all the way through this service. She is an enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and the words you'll hear today are almost all from Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants. How many people here have read that? Oh, lots of you. Okay, so these words there'll be a resonance. That's great that it's so well known. And I really bow to the generosity of Robin Wall Kimmerer for sharing her cultural knowledge and stories for those of us, for this world that so needs her wisdom.
This is a reading by Robin Wall Kimmerer from The Gift of Wild Strawberries, the essay within her book. In a way, I was raised by strawberries, fields of them. You could smell ripe strawberries before you saw them, the fragrance mingling with the smell of sun on damp ground. It was the smell of June, the last day of school, when we were set free and the strawberry moon. I'd lie on my stomach in my favorite patches, watching the berries grow sweeter and bigger under the leaves. Each tiny wild berry was scarcely bigger than a raindrop dimpled with seeds under the cap of leaves. Even now, after more than 50 strawberry moons, finding a patch of wild strawberries still touches me with a sensation of surprise, a feeling of unworthiness and gratitude for the generosity and kindness that comes with an unexpected gift, all wrapped in red and green. Really? For me? Oh, you shouldn't have. After 50 years, they still raise the question of how to respond to their generosity. Sometimes it feels like a silly question with a very simple answer. Eat them. Strawberries first shaped my view of a world full of gifts simply scattered at your feet. Have you ever wondered where the expression Indian giver comes from? Do you remember how children in our culture, based on private property, taunted the child who gave something only to want it back? In Braiding Sweetgrass, Kimmerer explains that Native peoples lived in a gift economy based on reciprocity. Gifts are currency. We are not meant to hold on to them. Rather, we are responsible to contribute to their flow. The more we share, the greater the value. This seems like a perfect time to pause for our offering. Consider then that many of us give to the church annually or monthly rather than during our weekly services. So as we pass the basket this morning, I invite you to reflect on our congregation as a web of giving. In a sense, the currency that underlines our covenant of right relations, those gifts you have received and the ways in which you in turn have given back.
Well, I think there might have been a sorrow for many of us that was not spoken today that I want to address as part of the pastoral prayer. I'm very aware that this is Independence Day weekend, or what one poet friend calls it, Interdependence Day weekend. And this year, I think the 4th of July, well, I know it was hard for many people, given the violence and horror that we are seeing from our government. But I did something unexpectedly wonderful on the 4th of July. I walked in my first ever 4th of July parade in downtown Port Angeles with the Elwha Legacy Forest Group, or ELF for short. And many people were holding a lovely painted banner that said, I was holding the lovely painted banner that said, "Let trees grow old," alongside a life-size dancing tree, a banner that read, "All Our Relations," 3 people in orca costumes who are part of the North Olympic Peninsula Orca Pod, a raccoon, and a bear. The Clallam County Democrats were in front of us, decked out in red, white, and blue, and the kids from a local Aikido dojo were behind us doing their moves through the streets. What was really touching to me was a lot of people cheered for us, for the Elwha Legacy Forests. Not one person scowled at us. Children screamed in delight at the dancing tree. It was a balm to my heart. And this reminded me of the final lines of Gary Snyder's great poem, "For All," published 49 years ago this weekend, that ends with these lines. "I pledge allegiance to the soil of Turtle Island and to the beings who thereon dwell, one ecosystem, in diversity, under the sun, with joyful interpenetration for all." So that was all a preamble for our meditation today. So I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and consider something you love about this country. Let go of your grief for a moment, or your despair, or your rage, and let in the love. Maybe it's the Salish Sea, or the Cascade Mountains, or the deserts, the orcas, the salmon, maybe the great rainbow of peoples, or those you love scattered from coast to coast, or the simple kindness of strangers, or whatever it might be. Whatever it is, whatever comes to mind, let it in as a gift to your heart on this Interdependence Day weekend. Let what you love be balm to your heart. We'll have a couple minutes of silence to let you savor this, followed by a musical meditation. If your grief starts poking its nose in, tell it it can come back later. Right now it's love. So in that long list of different things that I do or have done, one of the things Kate didn't mention is I spent 35 years as a field botanist, working actually all over the West, looking for endangered plants and working on their conservation. And so for that reason, and many others, Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is of course also a botanist, is a particular hero of mine. And what's really interesting is, and many of you know this already, is that in her writing, she brings together Western scientific knowledge and her indigenous wisdom. It's part of the power of her writing. And she's written 3 really great nonfiction books. The first one is called Gathering Moss, which is a really lovely book. Braiding Sweetgrass is the second one. And just this year, she put out a gorgeous book with hand-drawn illustrations called The Service Berry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World, very much the theme of this service. And as has been mentioned, this gift of wild strawberries is in Braiding Sweetgrass. So I wanted to start by sharing a little bit more about the Potawatomi Nation, because I think it's important to know that history. So the Potawatomi were originally a very powerful and large indigenous group of people all throughout the Great Lakes region. So Wisconsin and Illinois and Indiana and Michigan. And I grew up in Indiana, so I feel a particular, not that I learned any of this in school, mind you, but, and I was living in Illinois for the past 8 years, so learning about the Potawatomi was important to me. So one of the most important stories of the Potawatomi is, of course, why do you think Indiana was called Indiana? Because it was supposed to be the permanent home of Indian nations. But of course, the Potawatomi were removed, most of them. There was a group of almost 900 people who bought their own land in northern Indiana and were promised that they could stay on their traditional homelands. Some of you may know the Jamestown S'Klallam also did this, stayed on their land by actually buying the land. But in the fall of 1838, despite those promises, they were forced at gunpoint to travel by foot 600 miles from northern Indiana to Kansas, actually right through the area where I lived in central Illinois. And more than 40 people died on that march, which was in November, many of them children. And it is called the Potawatomi Trail of Death. That's why during Joys and Sorrows, to say that we are referred to as settlers is actually a kindness, right? Because there are other words you could use. Robin Wall Kimmerer's own ancestors were forcibly removed from Wisconsin to Kansas and then to Oklahoma. To this day, though, just as I was talking about with the Snohomish, there are Potawatomi people all throughout the communities in their traditional territories who never left. I know somebody who's a Zen priest in Chicago who is a Potawatomi descendant. Central to Potawatomi understanding are the 7 grandfather teachings. Just see if these resonate with you as Unitarian Universalists. Wisdom, respect, love, honesty, humility, we have to work on that one, bravery, and truth towards each other and all of creation. So I'm going to pick up from where the reading earlier ended, from the gift of strawberries. My father loves wild strawberries. So for Father's Day, my mother would almost always make him strawberry shortcake. She baked the crusty shortcakes and whipped the heavy cream, but we kids were responsible for the berries. We each got an old jar or 2 and spent the Saturday before the celebration out in the fields, taking forever to fill them as more and more berries ended up in our mouths. That actually happened to me yesterday afternoon, same thing. Finally, we returned home and poured them out on the kitchen table to sort out the bugs. I'm sure we missed some, but Dad never mentioned the extra protein. In fact, he thought wild strawberry shortcake was the best possible present, or so he had us convinced. It was a gift that could never be bought. As children raised by strawberries, we were probably unaware that the gift of berries was from the fields themselves, not from us. Our gift was time and attention and care and red-stained fingers. In Potawatomi, the strawberry is odemin, the heartberry. Heartberries, indeed. Gifts from the earth or from each other established a particular relationship, an obligation of sorts, to give, to receive, and to reciprocate. The field gave to us, we gave to my dad, and we tried to give back to the strawberries. When the berry season was done, the plants would send out slender red runners and make new plants. Because I was fascinated by the way they would travel over the ground looking for good places to take root, I would weed out little patches of bare ground where the runners touched down. Sure enough, tiny little roots would emerge from the runner, and by the end of the season, there were even more plants ready to bloom under the next strawberry moon. No person taught us this. The strawberries showed us. Because they had given us a gift, an ongoing relationship was opened between us. So, like many of you, I have attempted to grow strawberries in my various gardens, though in the Northwest they were always eaten by slugs, and in the Midwest they were always eaten by squirrels. I had strawberries every single summer in the Midwest, and I do all kinds of things, cover them, this and that. Every time the squirrels would, I think I ate one strawberry in 8 years off my plants. But I've also come across wild strawberries as part of my work as a field botanist, be up on some dusty slope, and there they'd be with their tiny little jewel-like fruits in meadows and beaches and even along, they seem to like roadsides actually. Every time a lovely surprise. And oh, to pop one of those little tiny jewels in my mouth and that burst of sweetness. We are so deeply steeped and conditioned in a culture of scarcity, of competition, of pillaging the earth and its people for our own well-being, so cut off from natural abundance. I think it can be hard to really imagine or enter the spirit that Robin Wall Kimmerer is describing, these gifts scattered at our feet, and our joyous responsibility to care for them in that dance. I love that reciprocity kept coming up even in our joys and sorrows today. So we can feel it, even though that's not how we were necessarily raised. And it's not just wild strawberries. It's also the tame strawberries we grow. I know that there are strawberry patches and fields all over this island. The many vegetables that rise up out of the earth, the fruits of the trees, the many gifts we offer one another. So for a number of years, I lived in a little foothills valley outside Bellingham in an old white farmhouse that was built by Swedish settlers in 1908. All around the house were the original apple trees that had been planted at the same time, varieties so old that they no longer had names, many of them, though we figured out a few. Yellow transparent, that bears in June, which is just extraordinary. Midsummer, actually it's more like July, long before any of the other apples have even formed, with skin so soft that you can make applesauce with it without peeling it. The skin just dissolves. It's a brilliant tree. And snow apples, little tiny apples that stayed on the tree literally all the way to Christmas, with bright red skin and pure snow white inside. Those trees on that property had been neglected for years, and so we took upon ourselves to learn how to prune them properly and take care of them, to give them a few more years, because at that point they were already 90 years old. In the spring, I would sometimes stand under Cecilia, which is what I named the yellow transparent apple tree in the front yard, in a shower of white blossoms, like a blessing. In those years of living with apple trees, I came to think of those old trees and apple trees in general, as the epitome of generosity. The way they would flower year after year, even if there was only one living branch, cold springs and warm ones, providing nectar and pollen for the bees, bear fruit without expecting anything back. They hadn't been taken care of for decades. The fruit eaten by people and deer, squirrels and birds. The way they stood in the rain in the winter, patient and steadfast. The way even when branches broke under the weight of snow or ice, they would bravely continue to flower and bear. I came to feel that apple trees were my teachers. Generosity and resilience, patience and strength. I mean, don't we need these teachers right now, of all times? Come to think of it, strawberries and apple trees are actually in the same family, the rose family. So many of the fruits and flowers we love are in the rose family. And what do we do on special occasions? We give roses. Robin Wall Kimmerer writes, "The essence of the gift is that it creates a set of relationships. The currency of a gift economy is, at its root, reciprocity." I was in relationship with those trees over the years. We climbed into their branches to prune in the cold of January. We read under their boughs in the heat of summer. We picked and pressed their apples for apple cider that we gave away to friends, always having way more than we could possibly use. There was a season I called apple pie season, and I've lost the knack now, which is very sad, but I could make a mean apple pie in those days. And after cider pressing, we would put a jug or two of the cider in the freezer and take it out and warm it up in the depth of winter and drink summer with spices in it. Although I am long gone from that little valley, those trees still grow there, shaped by my hands, by my pruning and my love and appreciation. And the trees are still part of me. Every time I pass an apple tree in blossom or laden with fruit, I smile. It's like glimpsing an infinitely generous friend. Here's another quote from Robin Wall Kimmerer. "How, in our modern world, can we find our way to understand the earth as a gift again? To make our relations with the world sacred again? Even in a market economy, can we behave as if the living world was a gift? We can choose. If all the world is a commodity, how poor we grow. When all the world is a gift in motion, how wealthy we become. One of these stories opens the way to living in gratitude and amazement at the richness and generosity of the world. One of these stories asks us to bestow our own gifts in kind, to celebrate our kinship with the world. I have a Ugandan friend back in the Midwest, and one day we were sitting on my back deck sharing a meal, and he told me that in Uganda, what determines the wealth of a person is not how much money they have or how many cattle they have or how much land they have, but how many friends and relations they have. That's a wealthy person. A poor person is someone with few. So I love the way that Kate brought all these teachings into our offering today, and I have always been moved, really kind of blown away. We take it for granted, but at the way that congregations are constantly in the flow of a gift economy. If you are part of this congregation and have been for any length of time, you have been participating in a radical and different way of being in relationship to one another. You can come here on a Sunday And although you were invited very nicely today to put some dollars in the basket, no one requires it. And no one has to pay for the coffee and potluck after the service, or for kind calls and cards if you've ended up in the hospital or gone through a loss. It's as natural as breathing. It's giving and receiving. And I just want you to consider how radical that is in our capitalist economy, how we are acting in a web of giving and receiving if you're part of a congregation. Or even if you're just here today for the first time and the only time, you're still part of that. So I'd like to share one final quote that really struck me this is from the most recent book, The Serviceberry. Because this really takes it back to the source. Feminist thinkers call us to remember that gift giving is among the most primal of human relationships. Mothers do not sell their milk to their babies. Have you noticed that? It is pure gift so that life can continue. The currency of this economy is the flow of gratitude, the flow of love, literally in support of life. So this gift, our dance of giving and receiving starts really even before we're born and continues all the way through our life. And I think gift thinking is the way to live. Thank you. What's that? Oh, I think I'm supposed to announce the hymn. Can someone tell me what it is?
203.
Thank you.
Of the written sky. 203. Verses 1, 3, and 4. That work? Please stand if able.
So in a few minutes, at the end of our service during the postlude, I invite you to come forward and choose one wild strawberry to savor. And if for some reason you don't want to come forward now, there are locally grown strawberries also during the coffee hour. And so just to, as you're savoring, to consider how this strawberry is a gift from the earth itself. And these final words from Robin Wall Kimmerer. Now I am old, and I know that transformation is slow, but a great longing is upon us to live again in a world made of gifts. I can scent it coming like the fragrance of ripening strawberries on the breeze. May generosity and goodness blossom everywhere, like apple blossoms, like wild strawberries, heartberries, like the beautiful hearts in this sanctuary, even and especially in these hard times.
We end our gathering with gratitude for camaraderie, shared wisdom, goodwill, and support that we extend to each other within this community. May we continue to bless each other with these gifts, and may we reflect those blessings back out into the world as we minister to those around us.